Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. But what does that mean for us Christian wives looking to end the fighting in our marriage and to do things God's way? Hi there. If you're new, like and subscribe to this video so that we can get it recommended to others, and also so you don't miss when I upload a new video. This is a place where we talk about how to end the fighting in our Christian marriage by doing things God's way. Yes, us Christian wives, we need God too, right? He's in the business of saving even us. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will keep your paths straight. This is Proverbs 3, 5 through 6. But how does that apply to us, and how does it apply to ending the fighting in our marriage? We're just going to go through this verse piece by piece. We're going to look at it, and I got some scripture for you today, and this all ties into the fighting wife, the quarreling wife. Proverbs 21, 9. Number one, trust in the Lord. Okay, we're not trusting in ourselves. We're not putting our trust in our husband. We're putting our trust in God. You know, our husbands, they can make decisions sometimes that we don't understand, right? Even the lack of decision making is a form of making a decision, right? It's this passive, um, and husbands can be passive, and it can be a personality type. We are supposed to submit to our husbands as unto the Lord. That's a whole nother topic. But comment below if you'd like me to do a video on passive husbands and God's leadership even in that. But when we are doing things God's way, and we're not quarreling, we're not fighting, but we're submitting to our husbands as unto the Lord, because it's our worship, Ephesians 5, 22 through 23, we don't always understand their decisions. But number one, trust in the Lord. We're not putting our hope and our trust in the decision, right? Maybe the decision doesn't make sense. Maybe we think it's a poor decision. But who are we to even say that it's a poor decision? Because God, Romans 8:28, he can work out all things for our good, for those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. So it's kind of bold and presumptuous of us to even say that it's a poor decision, because God can work in that. We're trusting in the Lord. Whoever puts his hope in the Lord will not be put to shame, right? 1 Peter 3, 3 through 5. It says, your beauty should not come from outward adornment, such as elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold jewelry or fine clothes. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to adorn themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands. So before Ephesians 5, 22 through 23, we're actually putting our hope in God first. A lot of times, a lot of fear can come with doing things God's way, right? Submitting to our husbands as unto God. Yes, it's our worship, Romans 12:1. But even to get to that place of obedience and worship, we need to be putting our hope in God. Isn't that amazing? 1 Peter 3, 6, it says, you are daughters of Sarah if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. I mean, fear is so wrapped up in this. Comment below if fear has its hold on your heart and it is keeping you from obeying God's word to submit to your husband as unto him. If fear is affecting your worship, because you're fearful of your husband's decisions, maybe he has proven to make poor decisions in the past, and you're fearful. Maybe you're fearful for your family. Maybe you think, I need to manipulate. I need to have a hold on this situation so that this bad thing doesn't happen. Again, that is presumption of God that he cannot work. 1 Samuel 15:23, it says presumption is as idolatry and witchcraft. And but we can be presumptuous of God. Again, fear is so wrapped up in this. And I speak so much on fear. Again, comment below if that is something that you really struggle with, something I've struggled with, and we have got to slay fear. Number 2, trust in the Lord with all your heart, not part of your heart, not 3/4 of your heart, all of your heart. Jeremiah 29:11-13. I love this one. And we know this one as believers. We quote this one. Now, this is a verse that I have memorized with my children. My children know this one, but I've added verse 12 and 13 because I think it is so important to, yes, not only know it, but to know it in context. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart. So again, trust in the Lord with all of your heart. When we seek him, we will find him, and he is trustworthy. But we can only find him if we search for him with all of our heart. And even when we put our trust in him, it's got to be with all of our heart. We can't do it with part of our heart, right? We can say things like, well, God, I trust in you, but then we don't completely, and we'll meddle a little bit, and we get in the way of what God is doing. I actually believe that Sarah did this. God had given Abraham the promise that you were going to have a son, and it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And God's timing is perfect, but it was going to be through them, right? Through Sarah and Abraham. And it wasn't happening the way that she thought it was supposed to be happening. Was she maybe not putting her trust fully in the Lord with all of her heart? Because her remedy to the problem was, here, honey, sleep with my maidservant, and perhaps we can have a child through her. And that was not God's way. And it created more heartache. We don't understand God's timing, and we aren't trusting with him with all of our heart. We have to commit our way to him, all of it, because the road might not be easy. God's way won't be easy. Yes, it has blessing usually that follows, but a lot of times it is really hard, right? Psalm 37, 4-6. Again, this is another one that as believers we quote in the church. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. But let's read what the rest of it says. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. So not only do we delight ourselves in him, and we can end there, and we're like, okay, well, God, I'm delighting myself in you. Now give me the desires of your heart. But what does the rest say? It says, commit your way to the Lord. So I'm committing my way to God's ways, which is Ephesians 5:22-23. Wives, submit yourself to your own husbands as unto the Lord. It's Romans 12:1. It's our worship. We're offering up our bodies as a living sacrifice. We don't understand all the time the decisions that our husbands make. We don't maybe always agree with them, but that is God's way, and God will lead us through that government. Hebrews 11:6, obey your leaders and submit to them, for they are keeping watch over your souls as those who have to give an account. He's going to answer to God, not you. We have to trust in the Lord. Psalm 9:10, and those who know your name put their trust in you. For you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. Again, we're seeking him, right? Seeking him is more than just saying we're seeking him. It's more than going to church. It's more than even reading your Bible. It is a commitment in our heart. God, I will follow you. It's going to be hard, but no matter what it takes. What does Jesus say? Anyone who wants to be my disciple has to lay down their life and pick up their cross and follow me. It's not going to be easy. It's just a little side note, but God will not contradict his way. This is something that I learned early on in my journey here of 8 years seeking God's way in my marriage. God, I'm seeking you. Give me the desires of my heart. But then I realized, okay, delighting myself in the Lord is delighting in his ways. It is putting my nose to the grindstone. It is being changed. The more that we commit our way to the Lord and the more we delight ourselves in him, the more he changes us. Okay, because he's not going to give us the desires of our heart if they're not after him. So the process of us being changed changes our desires. God changes our desires. And pretty soon, our desires look nothing like the ones we initially had. And God begins granting the desires that we didn't have, but we now have. And it looks nothing like we initially wanted. And actually, in a huge roundabout way, what we initially wanted doesn't even matter, because it's even better. We feel the nearness of God. Now, again, I'm talking about marriage. Maybe you've never heard of marriage and God so deeply meshed. I mean, marriage is a reflection of Christ in the church. It is this holy thing. And so, yes, our husbands are flawed, but this is a picture of Christ in the church. And when I began doing this, and really began seeking God's way for my marriage to end the fighting, I was after peace. So, I mean, I was after it for selfish reasons, but God changed my heart and taught me so much more than just, I'm going to give you peace. It turned into something so much more. But I realized that my desires looked nothing like my initial ones. The ones that God was beginning to grant looked nothing like the initial ones. Number 3, lean not on your own understanding. Again, we're talking about our husband's leadership. We're talking about his decisions that we don't always understand, and his moving of the family, and us not quarreling with them as he's leading the family and God is moving him. That this is what we're talking about. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. God is so embedded in your marriage. When you begin living this way, your relationship with God just becomes something out of this world, something that you've never had before. And it's just such an amazing thing. So we lean on God's understanding. We don't lean on our own understanding, because again, a lot of times we don't understand or agree with our husband's leadership. A lot of times we don't even know how God can work a good situation out of this. We're presumptuous of God. So we have the sin of presumption, but a lot of times we're unaware of it. And we just don't understand. The Bible speaks about peace that surpasses understanding. It does not make sense. Now, God's ways, we are unable to even understand them. They're out of this world, right? Isaiah 55, 8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, declares the Lord. Neither are your ways my ways. As high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. We are not even capable of understanding his ways. Our understanding it's limited, right? We're this finite people. We only see what's in front of us. We see what our husband is doing or what he's not doing. Our understanding is biased, right? We're following our heart. How often does culture say that? Follow your heart. Beloved wife, do not follow your heart, okay? Jeremiah 17:9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things. Who can know it? God knows it, but we're not able. He searches the hearts of man, but our heart is deceitful. So a lot of times our emotions are what is in front of us. And if we follow our emotions, if we follow our heart, it's deceitful. We will be deceived and we will be led astray. Number 4, in all your ways, acknowledge him. So who's him? We're talking about God, right? Now, this is not just words. This is, again, putting our nose to the grindstone. It's doing the hard work. It's laying down our life. Father, not my will, but your will be done. It is picking up my cross. It is Ephesians 5:22-23, submitting to our own husbands as unto the Lord. Romans 12:1, therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer up your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. So when we lay down our life as wives in this way and we follow our husbands with this decision or lack of decision, and we don't understand, we trust in God that he's leading, that is our worship. I mean, it's sacrifice. It's blood, sweat, and tears. Yes, there's blessing that's oftentimes involved, supernatural, that God pours out, not because we deserve it, but because of his goodness. Yeah. This isn't just acknowledging him with, it's not just saying, God, I acknowledge you, but it is acknowledging him with our actions, like I said, you know. But we have that list, right? And we can rattle it off. We say, we go to church, I don't swear, I volunteer at the church, we do, I do devotions with the kids, you know. And we fail to submit to our husband as unto the Lord. And that is submitting to his decisions. It's submitting to his personality, his interests, I know I've been talking a lot about decisions, but God will move us through our husbands. I mean, that's what scripture says. He's the head of the wife as Christ is the head of the church. And so he is our leader. He's going to lead us. But a lot of times we fight God's leadership, but we don't know that it's God's leadership because we're like, well, God, you just can't work in this. God has so much for us. I mean, this whole thing, the fighting wife, I started seeking God because I wanted God to end the fighting in my marriage. I wanted peace. And I knew that God was the way, the truth, and the life. And I knew that that's what I needed. I knew I needed to be set free, but God has taught me in all of this that it is about so much more. It is about his leadership in my life. And the fact that he was unable to lead me because I was so busy fighting with my husband. And not just that, God wanted to work on my husband, but I was so busy fighting with my husband and with God that God couldn't even work on my husband. And so when I got in my rightful place and I repented and I began watching myself, scripture says, Galatians 6:1, that we can restore those in sin, but watch yourself lest you be tempted. I began watching myself, and it's been 8 years. I'm not saying God hasn't worked on my husband, but it was almost as if, God gave me this mental picture one time that when we do that as wives, we are stepping to the side and our husbands are exposed. And God's like, okay, I'm dealing with you now. Because a lot of times we make ourselves front and center. We're the issue. We're loud and we're fighting. And I'm not saying our husbands are innocent. I'm not saying that they aren't involved in the conflict. I'm not saying that. But God wants to lead us, and he also wants to work on our husbands. And in our finite understanding, we don't understand how God could do that. But God can do that. Esther, I on the podcast, at the Fighting Wife podcast, I did 2 episodes on her, a part 1 and a part 2. And when Mordecai, her uncle, brought the news to her and said, you need to, who knows that you've not been put in this place for such a time as this. But she didn't go to her husband out of her emotion. She went to God first. Again, this is all about God. I can do that so often. I can be so wrapped up in something, or so fearful or excited even. And I go to my husband and it's just the wrong time. And I'm talking about the heart being deceitful, and I'm talking about emotions here. But she went to God first. She fasted him, she prayed, and she said, God, if I perish, I perish. We need to go to God first. That should be the first place that we go to. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. When our husbands make a decision and our emotions are running wild, you go to God and you lay it at the foot of the cross and say, God, I trust you. And pray that God would help you keep your mouth shut. I've got to pray those prayers all the time. Luke 22:42 has just become my favorite. It was Jesus praying in the garden, and he said, God, let this cup pass from me, but not my will, but yours be done. And sometimes the cross that we need to bear is keeping our mouth shut and just be like, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm trusting in you. It doesn't make sense to me, but I trust your understanding. Number 5, and he will keep your path straight. Now, this is not our version of straight. We can be like, well, I feel safe and secure if we're going in this direction. So God will keep my path straight, and that will be the direction we go. No, this is God's version of straight, which actually to us can look crooked at times, right? Because God's concern is to make us holy, to make us into the image of his son, and not necessarily to give us this great life, that we think in our understanding. Remember, his ways are not our ways. And so his version of straight may look crooked to us for a while, or we don't understand. I mean, God knows what he is doing, where he is leading. And so if your husband makes this decision that feels sketchy and then it kind of looks sketchy, you're like, well, God is doing something. I mean, his goal is also to make your husband holy, not just you. You and your husband are one. So if God is working on you, who else do you think that God is working on? He's working on your husband. And maybe he is going to refine your husband in the bad fallout of a decision, and he's going to mature your husband. He's also making him holy as well. Again, Psalm 37, 4-6, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will bring forth your righteousness as the light and your justice as the noonday. We are so used to, in our culture, we're used to not seeing God move. We're used to not seeing the hand of God in our lives. And so our desires become larger than life. But as Christians, we would say that we want the will of God, right? And delighting ourselves in the Lord. I mean, let's focus on what God wants. Focus on his desires. And before you know it, your desires will have changed, and God will grant those desires because they're coming into alignment with his will. We can say so often, God, what is your will for my life? What is your will for my family? And this is what I have come to learn in this whole thing, is that God's way will usher in his will. So for us wives, when we submit to our husbands as unto the Lord, and we obey that commandment found in Ephesians 5:22-23, that is his way for us. And that will usher in his will for us, which plays a huge part in God's will for our family. Now, if you're so busy fighting with your husband, his decision making is going to be all over the place. Maybe even without your fighting and meddling, he will make a kind of weird situation, a weird decision, but God can work in that. But if we get in there and we start fighting and we start meddling and we start manipulating, it throws the whole thing all over the place. We have got to stop the fighting. We need to put our trust in the Lord. Why don't we trust in God? It's because we're putting our hope in the wrong things. I'm putting hope in myself. I'm putting my hope in my husband. I'm putting hope in the decision that he makes and what I think will come of it. And we're not putting our trust in God. And also, we're afraid. We are afraid. 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control. Some translations say a sound mind. And I love that translation because when we are fearful, we are crazy. We don't have a sound mind, right? And when we don't have a sound mind, when we're fearful and we're under that spirit, which is not of God, because God has just told us that he did not give us a spirit of fear. When we're operating in that place, we are crazy, and we manipulate, and we tend to quarrel, and we tend to fight, and which just ushers in more unrest. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will keep your path straight. If you've gotten one or two little nuggets out of this episode here today, like and comment, subscribe to this channel. Again, you can listen to this podcast Wherever you listen to podcasts, I'm on all platforms. And if you're on the podcast, you can also tune in on YouTube. It will be in both places now. Be blessed. I just love you guys, and we will see you next time.